Lord Jesus. Okay. So one of the things that's been going on, everybody's been missing since founding /S, is how there was a human fact shaping nature breaching method that came from some ancient times. It's just your minds. Prepare your mind. Vaccine. Control your heart. Control your minds, but free your hearts. This thing has it reversed because this thing has how nature assigned names A through Z. Differences A through Z has its own. So of all the names of all the parts of your body as individual parts, they have a semi-nature relationship to your complete nature and demonstration of the invisible / hyper-invisible and appreciation of it properly reveals the opposite sequence nature. True conversely / hyper-conversely, per how more and more forever nature is being made. English was revealed to teach this. I read this from the rules of English grammar, from the nature of English grammar itself, and can show you too how to. Boxing. I teach us things belong. See, boxing, martial arts, and wrestling, they share group, the identity, the sciences share to show it to us. So they're about fighting, but by the rules. See, but the rules have been abridged since some ancient times. Use your minds. Boxings. Since some ancient times, one of the things we know, the difference between overt criminal enterprises, private ones, and or the interbranch, and or the intelligence, not interbranch, but like it, and or their locations, offices, and or the home's location. This is a breaching method that used all locations /S and sustained, forced, only allowed, fathomable roles with it. Before our founders were even born in America, the suburbs were designed for that method, which had slavery sickly distinct in the North and in the South. Where and how and when a country had something like that entrenched, and it's still not clear through the citizens why and how that was entrenched by a human factory nature breaching method, because it was left entrenched. Our founders left us the information to know that was forced entrenched. There was a possession over everyone's, including every founder, over everything they said. It was sensed by others through others. It is also grouped. Suits and ties, counters, and exceptions. See, we needed to play. I'll donate. Again, called angry parent, and angry parent, and what do you call it? What's it called? A website for it, and we'll make YouTube videos about it until we get the money to do it. In other words, and we'll have this but it has to work with the world, with the whole species names A through Z. You guys, before this knew the semi-ancients, before they did what it was, they didn't know they were going to do. It knew that there were other things, others, and or selves for negative value, nature, progressions, acts, and nature that it knew nature would continually demonstrate about the breaching that and those demonstrations wouldn't contain demonstrations of the human factory nature breaching method. This is a scientific value. Relative, for example, to what caused slavery relative to the question. Why is that question relative? Why is the word unabridged relative to any reading of any statute? Why is the fact that we have why have it noted that we have rights that are too numerous to list left out? See, different. We have readings of statutes that give precedence to titles that make exceptions based on economic costs of proper quality fact nature, but they left out exceptions with the readings of these statutes, and/or they're keeping other things, others, and/or selves blamed, not just for things as critical as slavery. And this means too. So we have black people, white survivors, for example. We have the same color eyes, different color eyes at the same time. These serious things. Instead, we have serious, what is only explicit or violent, or in other words, for example, words like violence. This is an appreciated value by the see the differences of the types of victims of the people, like individuals or groups that kill people, and the three and the interbranch too. They are maintained by the same breaching method that has possession of your campuses each. They have been putting everyone in faked and changed communications with each other since founding/s. Increasingly, have had collusion/s at crime scene relative to communications that the breaching method also knew would be manifest, that it could hide behind. Increasingly, and this did this since before our founders were born. Before our founders had to use James Madison's plan and then go find someone to be the first general to help them. And George Washington agreed to use that plan to counter, extort, and make other founders at 13 locations temporary. But once you temporarily broke the laws syntactically of that crazy breaching method, it would send you through your own, even if it was a majority of people, even if it was a majority of countries. This came from some ancient times, already locked them down. Self-value use/s of the names of the sciences themselves. And regardless if it's by then all this can only be, as it knew too, would have a certain type of victim/hyper victim predator/hyper predator, self-cultivated, that it could propagate per use of location/s, where the sciences are manifest. And this having been between totally unconnected campuses, including fire campuses and medical campuses, from other locations to those locations, and at those locations to other locations simultaneously. People are shown they need to hide live progressions, paroles with the databases since before computers, and then the layers further with computers relative per also the employments of motivations, hyper additional from those relative to where and to how. Like, for example, what caused slavery was that it took possession of everyone's motivations. It only allowed that. All exception nature, it used that to sense. And if you're going to counter it, you're going to have to do it syntactically. If you do that, you're going to be in collusion with it. Even if you're helping counter it, things like slavery. That's why it's not countered, because only fake counters to it as collusions. Because the quality of fact nature contains currently foreign/s. I tell it best so many ways, boxing. I teach those things below. So Wethersfield, the former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, I believe he's from Washington, D.C. I don't know where he lives now. But he has roles with predicate acts with the interbranch family members from Connecticut and intelligence tied, to them. And the difference of that is exploited where people are fact in nature relative to what others say, not whether they should use the word allegations or not. Because also since founding, what is recorded are effective uses of names and fact nature quality aspects of nature and treatment and the nature itself on all sides of criminal and civil cases, the lawyers, the names of the people that with the different natures of employment, even prosecutors and judges and their family members at the courts and their neighbors, who everyone talks to. They are bringing things and have brought things before formal identities of the law. Sickly, distinctly, the difference between their criminal insidiousness and criminally foreign influence, factual nature, quality aspects of nature, as criminal insidiousness, for example, with relativity and their theories. Their theories are delusions wrought in the same thing. Criminally foreign influence, tactically delusions wrought. A Judge Napolitano is a person who could appreciate this. He has a YouTube channel called Judging Freedom. But judges A through Z are a certain type of victim / hyper victim. Same thing as police forms A through Z. And where that is, they're supposed. It's not just worse, way worse than groupthink / S, because there are a whole bunch of different countries shared here and there. Connecticut, Wethersfield police switch names and forge names. They lie about what they think are the motivations of others, and on a mass basis, with a whole bunch of other countries involved with them, putting fake things in databases, people around their kids, their extended family members. They have social interactions affected by how they have all investigators having been used remotely, criminally foreign influence, tactically delusions raw too. Then they have to hide that they did that in the past and the relativity of it. That's how he uses them remotely. Has names on off election locations, collusions, forcing qualities of fact-checking nature, and things to be decided by courts who have collusions. You have the outcome of cases used, they're also lied about by the news media so they can keep the wrong outcomes in cases, so they can keep the right outcomes in the cases, also has collusions with the same types of things. They have people that were child abused when they were kids involved with the child abuses of others now as adults. And the difference is, they have retired police chiefs from Wethersfield involved with the same houses, involved with Afghans, with the Wethersfield Police Department and the Wethersfield town offices, increasingly, and with shopping centers. Town Line Drive increasingly has people involved who had roles of predicate acts with facts, evidences, crimes, and switching names, forging names for people with judges and prosecutors with my campuses. They're putting fake transcripts and fake ties and natures of ties between kids, and they're putting sequence shifts. Sometimes they're putting completely fake ties. No, not even a brief instance of illusion of other. So, in other words, has something to do with, in other words, they're making confessions because they're making me keep talking too. I'm talking about actual things too. They have a Ryan Garcia and they have a Justin Bieber and they have other people involved. They have the celebrities. They're making up their roles, making things up about each other and lying about their motivations with the courts. And they have foreign and domestic medical families attaching the kids around their own kids and others. And the difference of that, overt criminal enterprise, private ones at the same time, all with these narratives and databases. And it's tied to those styles of logic. They're also so overtly / insidiously manifest where you guys are blaming other things other than yourselves. and have delusions where we have natural questions and you have answers other in place of what is true always. Like, for example, slavery was about a human fact treatment nature breaching method uh, at all locations slash S. It was about criminally re-engineered republic for which we stand, from that was inherited from ancient times, and then from some ancient times, having been criminally foreign influenced. I believe science reveals that Muhammad is more is the last messenger, and Jesus Christ is also a messenger about how the identity that the sciences share, and following that, how other became followed because the sciences became forced, tricked, hurt, and persuaded to defend themselves in uses of names as systems tactical ulterior from that one that we are capable of being led by, which is hyper invisible but still discernible distinctly from how it is invisible but still discernible. For how hyper programming and for how hyper intelligence works too. This is also how the syntax of each of the natures of the sciences, like the lawyers, regarding artificial intelligence. They have roles with natures of cases where they leave out exceptions in exception nature. Facebook has roles personally and professionally within the Britain Superior Court and with Harper Courts and with their family members and with a whole bunch of people out the state Connecticut judicial branch officers involved with the principal sex offender who has and had more roles with different natures of organized crime at the same time. With police chiefs, the police chief Cintron and other ones retired. These are also people using such roles with such in overt criminal enterprises private at the same time, but using such while they're being and haven't been used themselves remotely. Former director of the FBI, Robert Lusk, and his co-defendants are also ones involved with their family members, with other natures of federal criminals and as themselves, involved with mayors in election spots and the names next to them. And news putting fake World Trade Center attack evidences because they have roles putting evidences through time. A whole bunch of people who went to schools I went, who I had never had communications with, the only ones, with all exceptions, I minded my business. And I got along with everyone. And people who pretended they didn't get along with me, there's ties between them and the World Trade Center attack. And how their teachers involved with identity theft, fraud, slanders with themselves and their family members, and the religious spots associated with them. So I want a confession because I want a response for the principal child abuser's confession, and the rest of the things I recorded true about the people, the names they're using of the educators. There's more things with a Michael Emmett is one of the ones with further FBI and police of the FBI and of the Wethersfield police. Involved also with remote uses of Judge Napolitano's Facebook page and cyber police and their family members. Now you have foreign and domestic medical families with Hartford Hospital and with Connecticut prisons involved with women and military, involved with names like Cololo and Phil Cololo, involved with names like Mendez and DeMay, and people associated with them on off Fox Connecticut News, on off WFSB, on off spots next to them, who have roles of predicate acts with facts and religious and sexual natures of passion crimes with evidences crimes, but because they have roles with other natures of organized crime and exploitations of their roles with campuses that have a whole bunch of different countries involved with them. Has something to do with their roles with Russians too. So you guys have roles with nuclear weapons. You have with peaceful nuclear. It makes you hide things and gives you guys rights to hide lies, to keep illusions blamed on other things, others ourselves. And that's one of the things that this breaching method employ. That human fact human nature breaching method. That was one of the things that slavery is about. And also proofs of it is who would deny that will have inherent active and progressive to their logic. Demonstration of the same things. They will have sequence shift self value. They'll have visions of the value of that portion of the future we don't know about. They'll have demonstrations of it too. But that's why they can't get on paper and they forge and switch names. As times collusions with overt criminal enterprises, private ones, interbranch intelligence, the difference of that, and names next to body dumping spots. Names on off campuses, leaders of the kids, times collusions with different natures of organized crime. The same people who have sense and sensibility regarding instances with kids and behavior descriptions and with other kids involved and the difference of that. A whole bunch of people from Trinity College are tied to an Eric Oliveri and a Joshua Stryker, who have roles with a Dean Alfred, planting evidences with them, and with names near me involved with the principal child offender in Wethersfield. And there were murders at the time involved in an untimely death at Trinity College. That also rolls with houses that live near me, with the Wethersfield police, people involved with Afghanistan, and through wars. These are people leading up to the World Trade Center attack context, the court next to it in Manhattan that day, and since, and before that, leading up to it, short term and long term too, and the night before too. Different ways against me, against other people that were in the context. WFSB also had fake conversations with me and with others about that. Attached me and others to fake locations with themselves and with others. WFSB attached me to fake ties to doctors I had no conversations with ties to at all as a kid. They also spy on kids with their own kids through other kids, and they use truths for lies, and they're just totally making up faked audio and video transcripts on Central Connecticut State University with the families of judges and prosecutors. Victims advocates and victims have collusions with various natures of organized crime. So that's why you have to follow mandated law. These are also Sandy Hook people involved with this. I don't know if they're, in other words, they're implying and demonstrating that they have intelligence communities involved with Sandy Hook prisons. Sandy Hook prison, they have a prison in the child campuses, intercities, have people with the name O'Brien and Cololo who have collusions with people named LaPera. I don't know, in other words. And others that I never had conversations with, they try to make exceptions. With the word exceptions, but in other words, there's a Joshua Julian, and there were no exceptions. He's one of the ones who attached me to fake locations, but increasingly people on off the state capitol have been planting evidences and spreading lies about me at other locations and everywhere I live. Even, in other words. So with the same house, /S involved with them with wire crimes, no. Now with the principal child abuser and with them switching and forging names. Wethersfield Pizza is involved. Wethersfield Pizza has roles with some judges and prosecutors and people that know my name, I don't know their name, out the state judicial branch offices. Involved with them with New Britain, Connecticut people. New Britain, Central Connecticut has roles with child campuses in Wethersfield. Involved with overt criminal enterprises, private ones, and sexual circles. Involved with identity theft, fraud, slanders. A Stephen Stocko is involved with a Mark Violet and people and a Ray Colo and a Joe DeMauro with a Mayor Gold and with some child abusers, leaders of kids who had their own kids abused also involved with it. This is making people use blame other things other than themselves. Otherwise, it makes problems for the foreign bodies because of the hyper foreign. They need either that or other things, others. In other words, it keeps foreign bodies blamed, even when correctly, because we know everyone's fake with negotiations at the other end of wars. This is known by the majority of humanity. See, the people doing polls, those locations, Quinnipiac University has roles with both parties and the exceptions because they have unmarked police forms associated with the Britain Superior Court with overt criminal enterprises and private ones. There's a Kevin Harris involved with the daughter of a principal, a Mr. Murphy, involved with some foreign and domestic medical families, including people from Korea, who are involved with a Leahy family and a Rixian Paglione, involved with the Mayor Gold, with body dumping spots and prosecutors and judges of New Britain Superior Court, Harper Courts, planting evidences leading up to the World Trade Center attack in that context and since on Facebook. Their roles with databases and with microchips to different departments at Central Connecticut State University. Also, people with the name Demoro and tied to them with real estate agencies. They have a former director of the FBI with federal evidences crimes with the judges and prosecutors and their family members, a Dean Judd and his family members. These are people with the name Scalora and Demoro who have shared cousins that, per the Cololo name, is one of the ones that has shared cousins. The Demoro and Ray Cololo said they have a shared cousin with a Scalora. There are people with Scalora attached to me to fake locations, fake ties, fake nature of ties to themselves and others, and with people that live around me. I don't know where they live. They're also involved with more of the people with the upskirts, with the principal child offender, and with the people next to the campuses, involved collusions with foreign and domestic medical on campuses and police forms in their families and all that, and at times collusion with overt criminal enterprises and private ones. So these are people from my grammar school that I had nothing to do with that are increasingly lying about what people say online, and they're getting away with it because they've been sticking fake things in databases. And this is recorded various ways we can discern this. They have roles with various natures of federal criminals before they were caught. And they have roles with WFSB lying about the outcomes of criminal cases and of civil cases with the FBI and their lawyers and with the Wethersfield police chief, Cintron, and other lawyers, and his lawyer, a Bayer. And these are people with Russia associated with the name Peruta, and I don't know the rest of the Russians' names. Has something to do with their roles with corners of streets like Elm Street and Rocky Hill and Griswold Street in Wethersfield. Tom Peruta is one of the ones involved with my sixth grade class, where they where people were involved with increasingly people at each of the grades I went to have ties between each other, even at different campuses. And there were instances that I don't know them at all, and they're trying to make illusion. And the instances where there were just instant of brief communications that were used for other acts. Increasingly, like a Ray Reynolds is involved with a Kevin Harris, involved with his mother, with men and women with medical corruption, foreign and domestic, and that are also federal evidences crimes with judges and prosecutors, and foreign people, a whole bunch of different countries around off the campuses. So Quinnipiac University has roles with all kinds of natures of organized crime that have been influenced to their roles with elections crimes and natures of going back and forth with it. Like, in other words, they're just forcing a quality of fact treatment nature with subject treatments that are being used to measure and maintain collusions with natures of negotiations and natures of industries, fact treatment natures that can't defend itself and afford discern what our founders left us to have discerned about how the Constitution was forced to be entertained, abridged, and how what they communicated for themselves and for us is being and has been changed. You have to understand how James Madison's plan is being used, and but other is pretended, having been legitimate description of American descriptions of American history. This is principle. So you have not heard of a legitimate description, understanding. I don't have a legitimate understanding of principle. You have a whole bunch of people using passion and emotion to speak about it, but not using what is true always. Not blaming the breaching method. You're blaming other things, others yourselves, even when you're doing it correctly. Exactly the way the breaching method employed. Let's see. So Angry Parent and Burroughs' book, hyperditionally, because we need one place to communicate with the world. And we're already stuck with those impositions upon New York City. Because America has barely been a country, and the whole time we've been a country, we had to become a country out of nowhere through counter extortion. And no one had the ability to defend the quality of fact-checking nature necessary to counter the slightest, they're getting away with insanity in our faces. Criminally foreign influence, fact-checking nature, quality aspects of nature, and tactile delusions, the experts of the sciences. There's a certain type of forgiveness is to understand the certain type of victim / hyper victim who gets involved when other people mention predicate acts. There are proofs. I saw somewhere in the news and television, or somewhere on a YouTube short, or somewhere. I believe it was President Trump said, because they try to understand it. In other words, there's a proven principal child abuser. And there are more people then and now involved with it. Now, the same one names tied to them roles with the World Trade Center attack, predicate acts more involved. So, in other words, you guys are forcing at locations like New York City, especially, the qualities of fake sciences and pretending other and or blaming other things, others themselves, the cause for it. There are people that need immediate injunctive reliefs right now. And you guys are playing games. Spreading lies about others, using other people's information, using truths for lies. In other words, they use celebrities, same networks putting fake things with attach me to fake words and others to fake and changed words with fake conversation ties to themselves and others, and changed with others too. Then the difference, and then all in little short stories. And so they just keep going fast with each subjects. That's why you can't leave out their rules of wire crime methods with their phones too. And they're increasing. Oh, I don't understand people, because they're playing hear no evil, see no evil. So you can't leave out the wire crime acts and methods. WFSB has with names next to them too. They have been stealing more money. And so it has something that had more money than you have streets in the cities is being stolen under the guise of healthcare. People have nothing to do with healthcare. They're just doctors of mental health putting fake transcripts in databases, like people with the name Leahy that have fake transcripts, conversations with me about my father's cases and about my father, fake conversations with them and with others I had no conversation with them at all. Ever in my life about people with police surveillance equipment, about anyone. And these people pretending that So a Leahy family has roles with the FBI, with criminally foreign and foreign and domestic military. Connecticut National Guard has roles with the DeMora family and houses next to them, involved with FBI and other agencies, involved with overt criminal enterprises and private ones, with middle school kids and private and grammar school kids, attaching other kids to fake ties and fake locations, behavior racketeering, lying about what they think about other kids, lying about their behavior. In other words, even what they think about other kids, for because their roles of behavior make things look like they're debatable that are not. So get them on paper, one name and sequence. Fear God. Have little people playing games with have games with child offenders. I want to stay in the acts. I want a response to the principal's confessions. I want a response for the fake emails that they're pretending with WTNH with the FBI right next to them in New Haven, because there are more people with the medical, with judges and prosecutors associated with the Dr. Shub and other people that work with his family and people that his neighbors are involved with foreign and domestic medical corruption, drugs and medicines crimes with little kids. Rise! Yeah, get it on paper. I shouldn't have to keep begging you to get the branch on paper, one name and sequence. Connecticut. These are the same ones involved with New York City in the Ninth Circuit Court, right next to the World Trade Center Tower. Fix the fake news, WFSB. Get me off the fake conversation with you. And now, I want a response for the principal's confessions too, and the rest of the things I recorded and got the confessions of Rob Rodriguez that you hid. Fear God. What are they doing with this Mayor Gold too? Get them his creepy family off my name. Stop pretending to know me.